Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulihil Kareem wa ahlihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Today we have a special guest speaker that's Ammar Bhai. Ammar Bhai is actually pretty involved in the community. He does weekly halakas for tafsir of the Quran. He's done halakas in the past around the community as well. Ammar Bhai might not actually know this, but if he remembers, the first time I met him before we were family friends was when he did a halakah many years ago at Southwest Masjid on the Sahaba Khabbab ibn al-Arat. So, mashallah, Ammar Bhai is active in the community. By profession, Ammar Bhai is an electrical engineer. He did his bachelor's and master's both from the University of Calgary. And today he's going to speak to us about keeping the momentum going after Ramadan. So, inshallah, I'll hand it over to Ammar Bhai now.
جزاكم الله خير. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. So the topic inshallah we want to cover today is keeping momentum after the month of Ramadan is finished. But I want to elaborate or expand a little bit further. To talk about that, we need to talk about a little bit of the Ramadan itself as well. What we did, what we wanted to achieve, and then carry the conversation further towards what to do after the month of Ramadan. So as this month of Ramadan, as it is closing in and only a couple of days or a couple of nights left for us, we should be, just for these few nights, but 4 days, 4 nights left, we should be getting into a highest gear possible. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we were told by through the hadith and narrations, we know that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, whenever the month of Ramadan used to come, he used to get ready for the month of Ramadan. But when the last 10 nights used to come, he used to tighten his belt. And what that meant, that's a phrase to say, to get himself erect or to get himself ready to spend extra effort, to strive extra hard to get the maximum benefit in these last 10 days or 10 nights. To also catch Laylatul Qadr, the night of power, which is in one of these 10 nights, according to some narrations, the odd nights of the last 10 days. So if the belt was to be tightened, it should be further tightened now because only a few days, a few nights left for us. So if throughout the period, throughout the month of Ramadan, as you have fasted and as you have prayed and as you have done Qiyamul Layl, as you have read your Quran, it is possible for fatigue and complacency to find its way in our daily routine. And one must fight that off to keep his eye on the prize, and the prize is to catch Laylatul Qadr. So if you have procrastinated, if you're one of those people who have procrastinated to this point, there is still hope for you because all is not lost. There are still more days left for you to go for the last push and the last hurrah, basically. The 2 nights specifically, one is tonight, which is the 27th, and another one is the 29th. Obviously, you should try to stay awake and take advantage of the 28th. And if there's going to be a 30th, that as well. But specifically 27th and 29th are of utmost importance because according to many narrations, 27th had a high probability of being a Laylatul Qadr, as well as there are some narrations regarding 29th as well. Usually when the month of Ramadan begins, the advice we give is to plan your days and your nights, plan your activities, and don't go for one big shot activity one time and don't do it for the rest of the month. Rather, take on activities or deeds or actions which are regular, even if they are small. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves actions which are done regularly, even if they are small. We'll talk about that further later on as well. But in today's context, I also want to mention another maxim in our religion, a concept in our religion, and the concept is that the actions are based upon the last of them. That if a person who did a lot of good deeds in the beginning of the month of Ramadan, but he did not end well, compared to a person who perhaps did not achieve much in the beginning portion of the month of Ramadan, but achieved a lot near the end, he is better off than the first person because the ending was good. So inshallah, everything is accounted as good for him. And remember, the night of power, which is present for us, or coming for us, that night is equal to 1,000 months of worship, which equates to 83 years. So how, I don't know, I know there's a young audience here. So if anyone has gone on Hajj, the importance we give to Hajj, the importance we give to the day of Arafah, that's the main day for us. How important we feel and how cautious we are that we are doing our actions properly. We're not wasting our time. We're making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because you spent all this effort and time to get there. Similar level of importance needs to be given to something like Laylatul Qadr, because it is a night of power which you don't see every single day. You see it every year it comes, and who knows whether you will be able to catch that night of power next year or not. So with that said, a couple of things for a reminder for tonight, which is a probable a night of power, is things that we should be doing in the night of power are: number one, recitation of the Quran, the Taraweeh prayer, and whether you're doing 8 or 20, but some sort of Taraweeh prayer in which the Quran is recited, or doing more Nawafil prayer on top of that, doing dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, any dhikr, subhanallah, alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah, wallahu akbar, all of those azkar, they should be done. Then spending your time making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, dua about yourself, about your dunya, about your akhirah, about your loved ones, about the Muslim ummah, the state of the ummah, wherever Muslims are oppressed, for their assistance. If you can, read a book of hadith, read a book on seerah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, read a portion, spend a portion of the night reading tafsir of the Quran, the understanding, the meaning of the Quran. Quran primarily is a book of guidance, and that is the primary purpose for which it was sent. Then if you can, give a little bit of charity as well. So all of these things, they're all blessed actions to be performed. So your night should be a portion of, there should be a portion of all of these actions present within your your routine of your nightly ibadah. Now with that said, let's come to topic at hand. The question I want to ask ourselves, and I want you all to think about it: how do we view Ramadan? Do we view Ramadan as a mission, as a mushakkat, as a difficulty, something to get done, something that prevents us from other things that we were doing before the month of Ramadan? And now because the month of Ramadan is here, all these boundaries are set for us. Music is haram, I can't listen to music, I cannot play too many games that I wanted to do. People, parents have locked things up. Parents have said, this, you cannot do this, you cannot do that. I have to be hungry, I have to be thirsty, I face fatigue. It's hard for me to work and fast. It's hard for me to study and fast. Do we think of it as boundaries being set upon us? Or do we view Ramadan as a means for increasing our ibadah, as a means of fixing our state? Because over the last 11 months, we have procrastinated, we have developed bad habits, we have developed bad vices, we have gotten ourselves away from the Quran, we have gotten ourselves away from the connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And here Ramadan comes, provides you a chance to fix it all, to fix your life goals, which have been lagging. What are our life goals? Many times people don't even have a life goal. Their life goal is to study, become a doctor, engineer, accountant, whatever, do whatever, earn some money, make a house, get a car, and all that. These are goals for dunya. But what is your eventual big goal? What you want to get out of this life? Hopefully everyone has the goal to achieve Jannah. But how are you going about achieving that? What is your plan? What is your path for that? And we tend to get away from that in those 11 months. And here comes the month of Ramadan, reminding us of a higher purpose, of a higher connection to be made. This month, when shaitan have been chained, a month which has been facilitated for us, that no longer can you blame shaitan for his whisperings. Oh, shaitan made me do this. Oh, shaitan made me do that. No, if in this month you are doing evil, then it's a very hopeless predicament, because there is no one else to blame. It's all you, upon you only. It's your desires you cannot control, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have provided every single means for you to control your desires in this particular month. Right? So the question is, how do we view the month of Ramadan? As a month which provides for us restrictions, or a month which is here a chance for us to fix ourselves, to get our connection established again? Now, because the month is pretty much gone, what did we do in this month of Ramadan? We notice, if you were to follow the guidance which provided by the scholars, and you have been listening to people talking about the month of Ramadan, or your teachers have told you, or your parents have told you, and if you were listening to that, we would have increased our worship in this particular month. We were all more punctual and conscious of our prayers, down to the minute for Maghrib and Fajr, right? Everyone is awake, doing their suhoor. Fajr is on spot, on time. Maghrib, everyone is on spot, on time, because you're breaking your fast, you're doing your prayers. Perhaps Isha is on spot as well, and you're doing a Tarawih prayer. We were all reciting Quran more often. We were listening to the Quran more often. We were making du'as, and our du'as were getting better. We were making du'as in the sujood, in the morning, in the evening, and our du'as were coming from our heart. Our generosity, that became better. For you guys, it may not be applicable, but people gave zakat in the month of Ramadan, an extra charity they gave in the month of Ramadan. And obviously, because of COVID, we didn't have masjid attendance, so that element obviously was lacking. But perhaps you were performing salah in jama'ah in your own household, right? So again, increase in ibadah you saw all around. We neglected our bodies, and we fed our soul and our spirit in this blessed month. So the question is, what will happen now that the month of Ramadan is coming to a close? And to answer that question, let's look at what was, or what is, the purpose of Ramadan. Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala legislate the fasting of this particular month? Did He legislate the fasting in this particular month because we were only supposed to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the month of Ramadan? And the quick answer is no. The Rabb of Ramadan is the Rabb of Shawwal. The Rabb of Ramadan is the Rabb of Sha'ban, of every other month as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala legislated the fasting of this month, compulsory fasting of this month, so that we taste the pleasure, the lazzat, the sweetness of having taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God consciousness. And this month was a bonus for us. It was there to raise our bar. And through this month, we were introduced to the pleasures of being a righteous Muslim, righteous slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this month, we were extra hard on our body, but our soul was getting nourished. Our body was getting less sustenance, unless you were eating a lot and whatnot, which was not the guidance. The guidance was you deprive your body of food, and you eat what is needed, right, to sustain, to keep your back straight, hopefully not overeating. The idea was, when you deprived your body of food, instead when you read Quran, recited Quran, made you connection to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you fed your soul. In the other 11 months, our soul tends to get neglected, and our body tends to get all its sustenance. In this particular month, the soul which has been neglected gets its chance to be fed, to be nourished. All the doors of Jahannam were closed, the doors of Jannah were open, right? And like I said before, this month was facilitated for us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran, why did He legislate this month? He says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. O you have believed, decreed upon you is the fasting as it was decreed upon those who were before you, so that you may achieve taqwa. That was the purpose of this month of Ramadan, for us to achieve righteousness, God consciousness. And Ramadan, in a way, was a reflection for us. Even the worst and the worst of the Muslims, even they displayed elements of religiosity in this particular month. Everyone did something to better themselves. Everyone did something to achieve the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And things were easy because shayateen were chained. But now that window is closing, or is going to be closed soon. Soon shayateen will be out, right? Soon shayateen will be out. So what are we doing this ibadah, all these extra activities that we were doing, were they only to be done in this particular month? And if you look at the Quran has never praised an action to be done for just one particular time only. But rather it has always praised actions which are done consistently, even if they are little. Continuous regular actions are always held superior than one-off actions. Let's look at the Quran, some guidance we see in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. Established prayer, is spend out of what we have provided for them. The word used here is وَيُقِيمُونَ. The yuqimun word has the element of always praying. They are not just establishing salah in Ramadan. وَيُقِيمُونَ الصَّلَاةَ. They're always establishing salah. وَمِمَّا رَزَقْنَاهُمْ يُنْفِقُونَ. Yunfiqun word has that continuous nature as well. They're always spending. It is a perpetual call to action in the word in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses regarding the prayer or regarding giving charity. Then in another place Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَىٰ صَلَاتِهِمْ دَائِمُونَ. Those who are constant in their prayer. Not just one time. I did not just pray Fajr only in the month of Ramadan, but I'm praying Fajr every single day. I am constant in my prayer. I'm praying Maghrib and Isha every single day. I'm constant in my prayer. Then in another place Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ لِلزَّكَاةِ فَاعِلُونَ. And those who are observant of their zakah, they do it. They continue to do it. And zakah also has the meaning of charity in this as well. So they're always giving charity. Always giving charity. So Islam calls for a lifestyle of taqwa. Not just one-time taqwa in the first 10 days or 30 days of taqwa. Islam calls for taqwa throughout your life. A lifestyle of taqwa. That's what Islam calls for. In another place, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَن تِلْكُمُ الْجَنَّةُ أُورِثْتُمُوهَا بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. This is paradise, which you have been made to inherit for what you used to do. تَعْمَلُونَ. Continuous actions, a lot of actions. You were doing it all along. Because of all along doing those actions, we made you inheritors of Jannah. We made you inheritors of Jannah. So now, what is our next step now that Ramadan is over? We have a beautiful hadith from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He said, "Saddidu wa qaribu wa alamu allan yudkhila ahadakum amaluhu al-jannah wa anna ahabba al-a'mali adwamuha ila Allah wa in qalla." He said, "Saddidu." Saddidu means to close up your gaps, to fix your deficiency. Wherever you have problems, correct those problems. Make the effort. Saddidu wa qaribu. The word comes from qarib, to get closer again, to close up. So close the gap to 100%. So ulama, how they describe this is, Saddidu wa qaribu. Do good deeds properly, sincerely, and try your utmost to get to perfection as much as possible. Saddidu wa qaribu wa'lamu, and know أَلَّن يُدْخِلَ أَحَدَكُمْ عَمَلُهُ الْجَنَّةِ, that your deeds will not make you enter paradise. Your deeds will not make you enter paradise. Meaning, no matter how good of a deeds that we do, no matter how much effort we put in, we are never going to be able to claim that I can enter Jannah solely based upon the reward of my actions. No matter what we do, our actions are always going to be deficient. We enter Jannah out of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then question is, why do we do actions if you're going to enter Jannah only through the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We do these actions to show to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala our effort. Oh Allah, I have done my utmost. I have tried my best. And rest I leave to your mercy, O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You have seen my effort. You have seen my effort. Now I'm reliant upon your mercy to get me through to the rest of the way. So this hadith, Prophet said, Saddidu wa qaribu, do your effort, put your effort forward, try to do as much as possible. If you cannot achieve 100%, achieve 90%. If you cannot achieve 90%, try to achieve the 80%, but put an effort forward. Do some activity, take some action. Then he said afterwards, the last part of the hadith, وَأَنَّ أَحَبَّ الْأَعْمَالِ أَدْوَامُهَا إِلَّا اللَّهِ وَإِنْ قَلَّ. And the most beloved deeds in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are the ones which are most regular and constant in nature, وَإِنْ قَلَّ, even if they are little. Small things put together over a long time, that is more blessed, that is more rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is more rewarded by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So like I said already, Islam calls for this lifestyle of religiosity. Lifestyle of religiosity. If you look at our life in dunya, in our dealings with people, in our relationship with people, if I was to call Bassam up one day and say, Bassam, you're my best friend, and we should hang out, and we go hang out in a place and we enjoy and everything, and just like one day we hung out, we had fun, and we establish our friendship, and then I don't call Bassam for 1 year. And after a year, I say, hey, Bassam, you're my best friend. And I spend time with Bassam for 1 day. And then I forget Bassam for again another year or 2 years or 3 years. Do you think Bassam is my best friend in this scenario? The answer would be no. Our relations with people, similarly, you can think of your wife. Well, in your case, probably not, but adults who have, wives, your kids, your brothers, your sisters, your friends, people that you know. How do relationships work? They are based upon constancy, right? You don't just call people up once in a lifetime and say, I have a good relationship with you. No, the relationship requires time and effort. So when we think that, how could it be that we could have a good relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, with the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when it is only and only limited to the month of Ramadan or a few days in the month of Ramadan? That just is not simply true. The relationship has to be long-term. It has to span over multiple months, not just 1 month or one night. So don't be just a Ramadan Muslim, right? Don't just be a Ramadan Muslim. Imam Ahmad narrated from Abdullah bin Ammar, who said that the Prophet Muhammad said, fasting and the Quran will intercede for a person on the day of resurrection. Fasting will say, oh my Lord, I kept him from his food and his desires during the day. Let me intercede for him. Intercede meaning let me make dua for him, let me get him out of hellfire, let me get him into Jannah. Then the Quran will come and the Quran will say, I kept him from sleeping during the night. Let me intercede for him. And they will all both be allowed to intercede for that particular person. This hadith is mentioned in the context of Ramadan, that this hadith is a guidance for us to fast during the day and to do Qiyamul Layl at night, because you're reading Quran in Qiyamul Layl. in the Taraweeh prayer, in the night prayers. But now that the month of Ramadan is coming to a close, the guidance in this hadith is still valid. Nothing is preventing us from continuing to fast and to read Quran after the month of Ramadan has finished. Month of Ramadan was a training ground. You are the graduates of Ramadan Academy or soon to be graduates of Ramadan Academy. Now the real test begins. Shaitan is free and he's eager to pounce on you. The entire month you have been trained for this. Like it seems like a cliche statement, like a movie statement, right? You have been trained for this. Now go out there and make a difference. Literally, this month was a training ground for you and I. We have been trained for this. If we were performing our actions accordingly, according to Sunnah, as per the guidance, if we were fasting during the day, we were staying away from the haram, we were watching our tongues, we were performing our salah on time, we were giving our charities, we were performing qiyamul layl, if you were doing all those actions. Many people say, scholars do say, for an action to become a habit, it has to be done 30 or 40 days. Once you do something for 30 to 40 days, it becomes a habit. The Ramadan was that training for us to habitualize the reading of the Quran, to be constant in our prayers, to be punctual in our prayers. Now you have been trained. Shaitan is going to be released. Now defend yourself and your deen. You have learned discipline. You have learned to harness your desires, have a control over them. You harness your desires to a point that you are even able to stay away from halal. Eating and drinking during the day is halal generally, but you were able to have self-control to even prevent that. So now with that higher preparation, now the test begins as the month comes to a close. So this hadith I mentioned talking about the fasting and the Quran, the hadith, the guidance and the reward still remains valid after the month of Ramadan. So now the month of Ramadan may be over, but continue to have a habit of fasting. Fast, if you can, the 13th, the 14th, and the 15th of every single Islamic month. These are called Ayyam al-Bayd, the days of the moon, right? When the moon is full. So the 13th, the 14th, and 15th. And if you can, take a step further. Fast every Monday and Thursday, as we know from the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Definitely, as the month of Ramadan comes to a close, fast the 6 days of Shawwal. If you are able to, fast them consecutively, meaning the 6 days after Eid. The first of Shawwal is the Eid, from the 2nd all the way to 7th, the 6 days, fast those days. But there is relaxation. If you cannot fast 6 of those days consecutively, then fast them throughout the month of Shawwal. The fasting of month of Ramadan was obligatory. The fasting of the 6 days of Shawwal is not obligatory, but it is highly recommended because there is a great virtue in it. Whoever, Prophet Muhammad has told us that whoever fasts these 6 days will have recorded for him a reward as if he has fasted the entirety of the year. And this is reported in authentic narration from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So like I said, Ramadan came and raised the bar for us. Now challenge for us is how to keep it raised. Obviously, after the month of Ramadan, our focus is going to decline. That is only natural. But science students or people who know graphs, this is probably where you started off before the month of Ramadan. And the month of Ramadan came, you went upwards. Your trajectory was upwards, and you hit a new plateau. And as the month comes to a close, you are declining. Your challenge and my challenge should be that our decline should not be back to where we started off from. We should aim and strive to be better than how we started the month of Ramadan. A small decline is possible. A small decline is inevitable. That is going to happen. But we should not go back to the zero where we started off from. This Ramadan was meant to change you. And the fruits of it will be visible how you fare after the month of Ramadan. Even the Ramadan, the ibadah that you did, the acceptance of that ibadah will be visible through what your behavior is after the month of Ramadan? Are you still reading your Quran? Are you still fasting occasionally? Are you still giving charity? Are you being obedient to your parents? Are you are you ill-mannered? All those things will determine, and you can do a self-analysis yourself. That analysis will determine how successful was this particular month for you. So, a few things to keep in mind as we think about this sustainability of our deeds after the month of Ramadan. Be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Even after the month of Ramadan, be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ramadan gave you that heightened awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Continue to strive to maintain that heightened awareness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Know that your actions are being seen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all hearing. You have been saying that in the month of Ramadan. He is As-Sami, Al-Basir, all knowing. If you attain some knowledge in the month of Ramadan, keep that on the forefront. Be mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and what He has made lawful and what He has made unlawful. You stayed away from the unlawful in the month of Ramadan. You stayed away from music. Let's say if you had a bad habit of music, you stayed away from that. If you stayed away from backbiting, you stayed away from other haram. Why? Because Allah had made them prohibited. But the same Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had prohibited those things outside the month of Ramadan as well. So just because month of Ramadan is gone does not mean the training that you have achieved, it should go out as well. Be mindful of your deeds. It is easier, obviously, it was easier to do good deeds in the month of Ramadan. You were programmed this way, everyone else was doing good deeds, right? So you got into that drive, of giving charity, of feeding the poor, feeling for those people as you felt hunger pangs yourselves, right? So continue to attain that connection, like I told you before, to fast. Fasting will bring that connection back to you. Perform the Qiyamul Layl. Perhaps you don't want to do all 8 Taraweeh at night. Do 2, do 4. Read half a page or 1 page. But do something and continue to carry those actions that you were doing in the month of Ramadan. You found time. So if many a time people claim, I don't have time for these things. You found time for this in the month of Ramadan. You were able to do it, which means you can do it outside the month of Ramadan as well. So a portion of your deeds should carry over after the month of Ramadan as well. The third thing I want to call out in this context is who your friends are, your association, your people. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told us in an authentic narration, and this is a beautiful narration. He said, verily the parable or the example or the similitude of a good friend and a bad friend is only that of a seller of musk and a blacksmith. Musk is perfume, the seller of a perfume and a blacksmith. The seller of perfume will give you some perfume. If you are with a seller of a perfume, either he will give you some perfume or you will buy something from him. Or even if you don't even buy anything from him, you walk away from that seller smelling good. You go to a perfume shop, you come out smelling good. Maybe you put some testers on and you smell good. So there's a benefit. Even if you did not buy anything, you walk away with some benefit. And then he said the example of a blacksmith is when if you go to a blacksmith, right? He there, because he is working with iron and fire and whatnot, he will burn your clothes, or you will come out smelling like smoke and ash. And that is the example of a good friend and a bad friend. A good friend will always remind you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will remind you of good deeds. He will remind you of worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because either he himself is doing that and you will follow his lead, or he will talk about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will say something which will remind you of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will tell you what is haram and what is halal, and you will walk away with some sort of inspiration from that particular person. But on the other hand, a bad friend or an evil friend, he will always try to get you to do something evil. Either he's backbiting or he's being disobedient to his parents or disobedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and you follow his lead. So after the month of Ramadan, make sure, have a hard look at who your friends are and who are the people you're spending time with, because that will determine how the remaining months you will pass, what your actions are going to be in those particular months. Another thing to mention is be mindful. In the beginning, I talked about what are your life goals. Be mindful of your life. Even though most of people online here are young people and you don't think about death too much, but death does not come knocking by asking people's age. There are many young people who pass away every single year. None of us have a guarantee of living another year or seeing another month of Ramadan. Keep that in your mind as well, that you cannot just say, I can spend the rest of 11 months doing whatever I want, and when the next Ramadan comes, then I will, fix myself. I will go into the ibadah mode again. No, a believer, he knows that a death could come to him at any moment, at any time. And may Allah prevent us from a fate like this when you're doing something haram and death comes. So you die upon haram. So be mindful of your own lifespan, that how hanging by a thread it is. And at any moments, without a moment's notice, your life could be done and gone. So that consciousness, that if you're thinking about death, that automatically brings that God consciousness. Then another point to mention, like I said before, your level of iman is going to dip. It is inevitable. If it was not to happen, if every month was like month of Ramadan, then that Ramadan would not have that importance. It has that importance because it has a special status. Shayateen are chained. Now the shayateen are out. You will slip. You will make mistakes. There is no doubt about it. There is no doubt about it. But what is a believer to do? And this is a beautiful thing which our religion teaches us, and we know the Prophet Muhammad said, fear Allah wherever you may be, and follow up a evil deed with a good one, for it will wipe the former, it will wipe the evil deed, and relate with people in the best of manners. This is the hadith in Tirmidhi. And here is the guidance for us, that if you do slip after the month of Ramadan, don't lose hope. Allah's door of maghfirah is always open. Be hasty in coming back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be hasty in repenting, and be hasty in doing a good deed right after an evil deed has happened. I'll tell you a tip which some of the scholars give as well. Like if you have a bad habit, hopefully this month was the month of breaking bad habits. But if, let's say, you develop a bad habit and you enter into a sin, you commit a sin, many scholars say, think of an action, a good deed that you want to do right after that sin. For example, if you're in a bad habit of, I don't know, I can a good example, but if you're in a bad habit of backbiting, or you are rude to your parents and then you feel bad about it, right? Or you lie to someone and then you feel bad about it. So they say every time you lie, pick a good deed that you are going to perform to counter that. For example, if you're going to lie, make an intention every time you catch yourself doing that, you're going to perform 4 rakat nawafil. 4 rakat nawafil you will do after that. Happened the first time, make sincere tawbah, do 4 rakat nawafil. And make it an absolute habit. Every time you catch yourself doing something haram, you're going to do this. Or read 1 juz, or give sadaqah, $100. Whatever feels the heaviest on your heart, to do that. So the scholars joke that if you do something like this, it may happen that shaitan will be the one preventing you from doing something haram now, because by making you lie now results in you doing an action which is far better than that. Obviously, shaitan is always trying to get you to do the worst actions, and if he cannot get you to do the worst actions, he will try to get you to do the lesser evils. And if he cannot get you to do the lesser evils, he will try to get you to do the actions which are neither halal nor haram, which neither have a reward nor have a sin. And if he cannot even get you to do that, and you're so focused on doing good deeds, he will try to get you to do the good deeds which have lesser reward than the ones which have more reward. Because he's always out there to get you, right? So you have to play his game as well. Okay, you made me slip here. I'm going to counter that by something magnanimous on this other side. So, tackle shaitan, fight him. Few other things, and I'll close after that. Few other things to mention here is, which is obviously a given. If you have missed any of the fast in the month of Ramadan because you were traveling or you were sick, that's your first utmost priority. Make sure you perform perform those missed fasts. We talk about Qiyamul Layl. Make sure you make a habit of doing the Qiyamul Layl after the month of Ramadan as well, and read what is easy. Many people shy away from reading Qiyamul Layl because they only know few surahs. Like, okay, I only know 5 surahs or 6 surahs or 7 surahs. That's okay, because Qiyamul Layl is a nawafil prayer. There is no harm in you opening up the Mus'haf, opening up the Quran and reading the Quran directly from the Mus'haf in the Qiyamul Layl. There is ease in that matter. So make that a habit, inshallah, right? Dedicate a daily time of reciting Quran every day after Fajr. Every day after Fajr, I'm going to do my morning du'as and I'm going to read some portion of the Quran. Let it be half a juz, let it be one page, half a page, 2 pages, whatever is easy. Again, I keep reminding, whatever is easy, because you don't want to be on the 2nd of Shawwal, come up and like, okay, today I'm going to do this. I'm going to read the entire juz. You do that for 1 day and 2 days and the 3rd day, gone. But no, let's not fizz out. Let's be something which is achievable over long time. So let it be 1 page or 2 page, but be constant in doing that, right? If you're able to give charity, make a habit of giving charity continuously as well. Let it be, let's say, every Friday you give some charity. It could be $10, $5, $2, whatever is easy, but make a constant habit of doing something, a charity to be given, right? Engaging in dhikr. I already mentioned the morning du'as. Similarly, you should be doing the evening du'as after Asr prayer as well. Every day habit. It only takes 2 minutes or 3 minutes to make those du'as. Make those du'as. Build your schedule around your 5 daily prayers. They are of the utmost importance that you do not miss out on your 5 daily prayers. And if you can, add on top of them the nawafil prayers, right? Many times we get in the month of Ramadan, we get in the habit of doing more than just the fard prayers, right? Usual days, like, we hardly catch our fard prayers in time. But in the month of Ramadan, we try to do more than the fard prayers. We add the sunnahs of the Zuhr, we add the sunnahs of the Maghrib and Isha, right? If you can add that, at minimum, make sure your 5 obligatory prayers are done on time. Right? And I already told you about the companions. Make sure you continue to maintain a company of righteous people, because that is really going to determine whether you're going to fall off the track or you're going to remain on track. Because those people, as they follow the same things I'm telling you, as they follow that, if you slip, they will catch you and remind you, and there will always be inspiration for you to come back on the track. Make a list of goals and things you want to carry over and measure yourself against that. They say, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you don't plan these things out, I'm going to do these 5 things. I'm going to read this much juz. I'm going to do dhikr. I'm going to do this. Make a list of any of the things I've mentioned. Pick 3 things, let's say. Make a list and then follow on that. Few things to add to it are also, a portion of the Quran reading should be regarding reading. A portion should be regarding hifz of the Quran. Let it be 1 ayah. Let it be 2 ayahs. But hifz should be a portion of your Quran. Reading should be a portion of your Quran, as well as reading with understanding. Tafsir, a simple tafsir book. Open it up. But in your Quran routine, daily Quran routine, all 3 elements should be there. and you will see great reward for it. In fact, I just heard a story yesterday. Sheikh Naveed shared with us that a 65-year-old man just finished his hifz of Quran. He had a life goal of doing hifz of Quran. It took him years at 65-year-old. Now he achieved his hifz. If that man can do it, almost all of us, I can guarantee you, can do it. But we have to be dedicated to that task. It doesn't mean every day I have to revise or I have to memorize one juz or one page. No, one ayah a week, eventually it will get you somewhere. And if you make an intention, even if you die without achieving this goal, inshallah, you'll be counted amongst the huffaz because your intention was to become a hafiz. Right? So keep that in mind. Our religion is very, very easy in that regards. Prophet Muhammad said, actions are according to the intentions, and everyone will get what was intended. What was intended. Anyways, I've mentioned quite a few things here. In the end, I will just conclude by saying once again, this month of Ramadan was a month of training for us. You have been trained, we have been trained to carry this forward. Let nothing come in your way to tell you that now you don't have time, now things are too hard, my work is coming in the way, my job is coming in the way, my studies are coming in the way. These are all excuses. These are all excuses. You beat all these excuses in the month of Ramadan. You are prepared to carry this forward after the month of Ramadan as well. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us one of those people who take the benefit of the last remaining days of the month of Ramadan and to carry this zeal to utmost of our ability after the month of Ramadan and count us amongst the people who are forgiven in this particular month. If I in the end, I'll just mention the Sahaba. One other thing that you should also include is to make dua regarding acceptance of your deeds in this last month of Ramadan as well. The Sahaba, their habit used to be, their du'as had a lot of focus regarding month of Ramadan. 6 months before the month of Ramadan used to come, they used to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Allah, let us witness the month of Ramadan. And for 6 months after the month of Ramadan had passed, they would continue to make dua, oh Allah, accept our deeds from the last month of Ramadan. So with that we'll close. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun mursalin walhamdulillahi alamin subhanaka rabbi hamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Jazakumullah khair. I am open to taking questions. I may have taken more time there, Basil, sorry. But yeah, open to taking any questions.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Ammar. That was a really amazing talks. You made some really good points, especially about the one that nobody knows if we are going to live to the next Ramadan. So we talk about the Day of Judgment, but for us as Muslims, our problem is not the Day of Judgment. Our problem is with death, because once death arrives, our Day of Judgment is already here, because the ability to do good deeds is gone. So no, Jazakallah khair. I do see one question. So the brother asked, what is the one thing we need to continue after Ramadan so that we do not go back to normal? I guess what he's asking, from all the things that you mentioned, what is the one thing that we can focus on after Ramadan?
This is just my advice. I would say people usually are really lackluster in their connection to Quran. And that gets built only in the month of Ramadan. And then after the month of Ramadan, it falls off, right? Assuming all your obligations are already there, meaning you're performing your salah, according to, the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all those obligations are there. Make sure a daily part of your routine, Quran has a portion in your daily routine. Let's put it this way. In one way or another, have your connection with the Quran. The rest of the things will come automatically as well. But the connection of the Quran, this is something which is almost always lacking in most people, whether they're adults or young. Quran is only opened up either when you're younger, Qari Sahib comes and you have to read it to him, and that's it. And once you finish your Quran one time, the Qari Sahib is gone as well, and so is your connection to Quran. So make sure as part of your daily routine, there is a connection with Quran for sure.
Okay, Jazakallah khair. I don't see any more questions. Bassam bhai, do you have any more questions at your end?
I'm okay, Jazakallah khair, Marvai, for the presentation.
Yes, yeah, Jazakallah khair, Ammar bhai. We really appreciate your time here and with giving us all the great advice. So, it's a good thing, Brother Ammar talked about our connection with the Quran. Let me quickly just share my screen here. So, inshallah, YM Canada is hosting another program tomorrow at 12 p.m. Mountain Time or Calgary time. So, that program, let me just quickly share my screen. So this program is Ramadan and a connection with Quran, and the speaker is Dr. Mustafa Khattab. If you guys don't know who Dr. Mustafa is, he is the author of the Clear Quran, which is a very simple English translation of the Quran. So, mashallah, he's a great scholar of the Quran, and it's highly recommended that you guys tune in. Inshallah, I will add the Zoom link into the chat box.
It's an excellent translation, yes, for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So inshallah, it's going to be tomorrow at 12 p.m. As we mentioned about the Clear Quran, if any of you guys want a copy of the Clear Quran, ICNA Calgary is distributing that for free. So if any of you want that, and it's excellent for us as the youth who who want to understand the Quran in a very simple English language. If any of you want a copy, please do contact me, and inshallah, we do have free copies available. Uh, so, Brother Mar, there's one more question for the 6 days of fasting for Shawwal. I heard that if you fast those 6 days, your previous year of sins and next year is forgiven. Is that true?
Sorry, my understanding is that the entirety of the year are forgiven, the entirety of the year. And the way they do the calculation is interesting actually, because ulama, when they say how does it complete a year? So 30 days of month of Ramadan you fasted, and 6 days of Shawwal that you're going to fast, right? So if you follow the month of Ramadan with the 6 days of Shawwal, that completes a year. How does the year counting happen? The ulama, they give an explanation. They say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made for each hasana 10 like it. For each month, for each hasana that you do, there's 10 like it, right? So month of Ramadan, 30 days, that's 1 month, becomes what? 10 months, right? The 6 days of Shawwal times 12, sorry, times 10 makes 60, which becomes 2 months. So 10 months through the month of Ramadan and 2 months through the month of Shawwal, combined, you get the 12 months. Anyway, this is an explanation they provide for it, but Allah knows best. To the best of my knowledge, it is regarding the reward of the a whole year. There are other things. I think the fasting of the day of Arafah and others which are coming as well. I should have mentioned that as well. Those fast, the 9th or 10th of Muharram, or the fasting of the Arafah day, those also have a reward which is pertaining to a year before, a year after. So, but this one, to the best of my knowledge, this is pertaining to 1 year.
Okay. Jazakallah khair. Any other final questions before we conclude the program?